Solving equations. All right, to start us off, let's distribute. I'm going to distribute that 4 and that negative 2 over 3, and this is what I get after I distribute those values. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the x's and the constants on the same side. So I add 28 to both sides, and I added 2 over 3x to both sides. Now I have the x's on the left side and I have the constants on the right side. Now it's time to simplify and get the x alone. So on the right side, we have negative 2 plus 28, which is 26. On the left side, I have to find common denominators. And so when I put a 3 on the bottom of the 8, the numerator becomes 24. And 24 plus 2 is 26. The denominator stays the same. And lastly, I'm going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 26 over 3, and this is what I get. I get x equals 26 times 3 over 26, which happens to be really cool because the 26's just cancel out, and I'm left with my answer 3. Now, the answer, or the directions do say check your solution. So that means I must take the 3 and plug it back into the original equation to see what I get. And so when I plug the 3 back into the original equation, my strategy is going to be to simplify what's on the inside of the parentheses first. And so I get 6 there and 6 there. 6 minus 7 is going to be negative 1. So I have to multiply that by 4. And then I have negative 2 over 3 times 6. When I multiply the 4 times negative 1, I get negative 4. On the other side, I get negative 12 over 3, which simplifies down to negative 4. All right, that one's done. Now the next one. The first thing I'm going to do here, now because both the left side and the right side are fractions, I'm going to do cross multiplication. It's kind of a trick, but really what I'm doing is multiplying each side by the denominator. So on this side, if I multiply this side by 7x over 8, it cancels out the denominator, and then I multiply it on this side, it multiplies to the numerator, which is why we have 1 times 7x plus 8. And then I'm going to do the same thing with 11x plus 4. Or you can just cross multiply. You go 2 times the denominator here, and you go this guy times the numerator there, and you set them equal to each other. Now, after I distribute, I get 22x plus 8 on the left side, and then 7x plus 8 on the right. Then I have to get the x's on the same side. If I subtract 8 from both sides, I get 0, and then I subtract 7x from both sides, I get 15x. And so my answer here is x equals 0. But I got to check my solutions, and so I plug in. I'm going to plug in the 0, sorry. First thing I did here is I noted what my excluded values are. I suppose you didn't have to do this, but you really should always check the answer against the excluded values. So to find these guys, you just have to set the denominator equal to 0. If I set 7x plus 8 equal to 0, I would get negative 8 divided by 7. And if I set 11x plus 4 equal to 0, I would get negative 4 divided by 11. So now let's plug in the 0. Okay, so now I plug in the 0. I plug in the 0 to the x's on both sides. On the left side, I get 2 over 8. On the right side, I get 1/4. Wow. Oh, yeah, because that 11 gets canceled out by that 0. And then I see, I got 1/4 equals 1/4. And so I'm going to put a little check there and be done with that guy. Now let's look at letter C. Letter C, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do that exponent by going x minus 2 times x minus 2. And then on the right side, I go x plus 1 times x minus 1. Now that's a difference of squares, people. And so I have x squared minus 1. So I multiply the left side, I get x squared minus 4x plus 4. And then the right side, nothing changed. Now let's get everything on the same side. I'll check that out. The x squareds are going to cancel out. If I subtract 1x squared from both sides, they're going to cancel out. And so now I have negative 4x plus 4 equals negative 1. And then we're going to subtract 4 from both sides to get negative 5 on the right side, and then divide both sides by negative 4. Now my answer is 5 over 4 because a negative divided by a negative equals a positive. Now let's test it. I'm going to take the 5 over 4 and I'm going to plug it into all my x's and see what happens. Common denominators, oof. Common denominators, oof. Common denominators, oof. All right, so on the left side, let's see, I get negative 3 over 4, and I got to square that. On the right side, we simplify what's inside of our parentheses, and we do the power first on the left side, then we multiply those two fractions together, and shebang-a-dang, it works. It checks out. Okay, last one. Now, there's a cool trick. Whenever you guys have fractions inside of an equation, you can multiply everything, each term. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3 terms by the common denominator. Now, our common denominator is going to be x squared minus 1. And I can see that because I can easily factor x squared minus 1, and I can do that in my head. It's x plus 1, x minus 1. So I can see right here there's an x minus 1. This would be the common denominator for that guy. And 3 is over 1, so whatever the denominator is going to be, it's going to be common because 1 goes with everything. So let's multiply both sides by x plus 1, x minus 1. For the 3, we get 3 times x plus 1 times x minus 1. For the 4 over x minus 1, we get 4 times x plus 1. And that's because the x minus 1 and the x minus 1 cancel each other out. Because we could look at this like it's a big old fraction. All right, next. That one you get 1. How cool is that? Look, the denominator just cancels out with that because it's exactly that. All right, so now we distribute. First, I multiply those together. I get x squared minus 1, and then I multiply it by 3 to get 3x squared minus 3, and then I multiply the 4 out. So I have 4x plus 4. Now I got to get everything on the same side because it looks like I have a quadratic. You see the x squared right here? So I got to get everything on the same side. So let's simplify the left side first, and then I'm going to bring that 1 over, shebang. Now I have 3x squared plus 4x. Now let's factor and solve. Hey, this is an easy factoring because it's only a binomial. So I took an x out. I get x times 3x plus 4, and I take each of those factors and I'm equal to 0. I get x equals 0 and 3x plus 4 equals 0. And then I solve. I get x equals 0 and x equals negative 4 over 3. And boo, I have to check my answers yet again. So let's check our answers. So I plug in the negative 3 over 4, or I'm sorry. I plug in the 0 first. So when I plug in the 0, I plug it in there and I plug it in there. I didn't need to put parentheses because there's no negatives anywhere that I have to worry about. I get 3 plus negative 4. And then on the right side, I have a negative 1. A little more simplification shows that these are, in fact, equal each other, the left side and the right side. Next, let's plug in the negative 3 over 4. Oof, that's ugly. Ugly. Oh, that's not even a 3 there. Look at that. That doesn't look like a 3. Okay, so to find common denominators, I love it when there's a 1 there because the common denominator is going to be the 3. So it's going to be 3 over 3. Let's write that out right now. So I have 3 over 3, and the other one is going to be 3 over, or actually, I'm not going to do the common denominator for this one yet. So when I subtract these, I get negative 4 minus 3 is going to be negative 7, and then the denominator stays the same. Next, on the right side, I get 16 over 9, and then I make the 1 into a 9 over 9, and then I subtract those. Let's see what happens. I get 7 over 9. Ooh! All right, still more work to do. Well, it looks like I'm going to need a little bit more space here. I have 3 plus 4 times the reciprocal of the denominator. So instead of 7 over 3, we now have a 3 over 7. It's still negative. And then on the right side, we have a 9 over 7. Why? Because it's 1 times the reciprocal of 7 over 9. That's why it's 9 over 7. Finally, we multiply the 4 times the fraction. So we have a negative 12 over 7. On this side's 9 over 7. It's already simplified. I have to see if this side equals 9 over 7. So I find common denominators. My common denominator is 7, so that means the numerator becomes 21. 21 minus 12 is 9, and oh snap, that means it checks out. And we're done. Yay.